So this is a close-up of the before because I wanted you to see a couple things that were important in this design, and then I've got a further away before. But a couple things that were important to this client. And this particular project, it actually took us a couple years to get from before to after because it was a hard time making decisions. But this particular window, it's big, it's beautiful. It's a sunroom off of their kitchen and eat-in area. Obviously, they have a pretty view with all those trees back there and that nice big yard. So they weren't necessarily looking for privacy or light control. They really actually wanted to maintain the view, but they knew there was something missing. Just wasn't quite what they wanted. And those chairs in particular were just really neutral. And if you knew my client, she is not really neutral. She likes fun, and you'll see where we got to with them. But this is a further way. So there was those two big windows, and it just didn't feel right or finished to her. So
Rebecca, don't you find, I mean, like I know that I have clients where it takes a long time sometimes to have the idea go from the beginning all the way through to fruition, just selecting fabrics, the right treatments and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you also, like, after you do a job like this, it's not uncommon a couple years later to get a call for the next room, and then another year later for the next room.
Yeah. So yeah, that's so true, Debbie. Like, and this did, we needed to get paint on the walls. We needed to do some things to really warm this space up and make it feel like hers, but committing to that was hard. So helping them through that process and helping our clients to like feel comfortable with making the changes is really important. This particular client, I love her. She's one of my favorites. But it was funny as we were sitting there, if you go back to the before picture, I said, they were having a hard time like agreeing on exactly what they were going to do. And I said, look around. And I was like, you guys keep telling me you love color, and there's a lot of brown in this house. I think we found that like their place of meeting in the middle and compromise was brown. So we really kind of worked through how could we introduce some color and make sure that everybody in the family was really comfortable with the color we were going to introduce.
That's what I noticed too when you said that they love color, and I thought, okay, this is a brown room.
Right. So this is where
did you help them with the color also on the wall?
Yep. So we worked through paint colors. We picked out the hardware and the drapery panels. And look at those chairs. I mean, I've got another picture coming up in a minute where we've got some close-ups of the chairs, but you can see, I mean, they went from being very neutral to like super fun, right?
Now, did you also paint this?
We did not. In this case, we didn't need to. We were able to leverage what was already there from a paint perspective. But you can see Tara spent a lot of time making sure that pattern was beautifully centered on there. Good job, Tara.
Yeah.
And we took a striped fabric and made the welt cord into like a diagonal stripe because we did it on the bias. So you can see along the front there, that beautiful welt cord.
Oh, right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And then we pulled out that yellow. She really loves yellow, and did the little pop of yellow in the pillows, which also has the striped cording around the edge. So, we took a room that she says now when everyone walks in, it's their very favorite room. And just went from that to.
Oh, and I wanted to see those chairs again.
Yeah. They were. Can you see the big difference?
Yeah. Boring. Very boring.
Yeah. And now, we just added a lot of fun. So
gorgeous. Beautiful room.
It's her favorite room in the house. So, we've helped her with her dining room and some other rooms. She called me this week for the next project, so it's kind of exciting. But it was a really, really fun transformation.
Good. It's always fun to work through a house too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is a client. They actually live on the Bay, and they started out working with a designer. And the designer did a phenomenal job in, like selecting like different accents for the walls and things like that. But when it came to the window treatments, after my client had gotten like 2 rooms of window treatments, she found out about me. She called me and she said, I need you to come in and I need you to do my whole house. And
That's always awful when they ask you to do that,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And she was an amazing client that just wanted everything to be perfect, all the details, everything. She just wanted what she wanted. So we started out, this is the master bedroom, and this faces to the bay right here. And we started out with beautiful woven wood blinds. And of course, everything is fully motorized. So she can push a button and she can have all of there's two more windows in this room. She can have all the shades come up, she can do them individually. So we started out with that with a blackout liner. But you see, when you use a blackout liner, you still get light through the corners of the windows, which they knew that was going to happen. You can't get around that if you're doing an inside mount.
Yeah.
When the room was completed, we did everything from the beautiful panels. And I wish I should have done a close-up so you could see this finial right here is all mini seashells.
Oh, how
It
pretty.
is, it's amazing looking.
That is
We
really
did,
gorgeous. Debbie, I don't know about you, but just when you flipped from the other picture that had really beautiful woven woods in it to this picture with the drapery panels, I always tell people, like, you cannot underestimate the impact that drapery panels make.
right,
It just,
just the softness
yeah,
and
yeah.
and and just adding life to a room.
Mm-hmm.
And then along with these panels, we also did all of the bedding.
That's so
And
pretty.
they love doing the monogramming, so we did the monogramming. And this one is a duvet cover. This one right here is a comforter. And we also reupholstered. We got a bench and we upholstered it in the stripe so that we could pull everything together.
I
So
love that.
this, say that
Debbie,
again?
we should totally do one on custom bedding, because I think there's a lot people don't know about custom bedding, and it is a little intimidating because it's not inexpensive.
Right.
But look how far you were able to bring that duvet cover or the comforter down on the sides. So
Yes.
that's a complaint I always hear from people as it relates to bedding, and we're able to accomplish that in custom bedding, which is really pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, because this is a shore house. You don't want bed skirts, and it actually
Mm-hmm.
has a rail, but the rail wasn't that deep. And so, yeah, we were able to measure it and have it fit exactly the way we wanted it to fit. We wanted to have some air. We didn't want it too heavy, but also
Mm-hmm.
you don't want it too short. So this was a really fun project to work on.
That's really pretty. Did you help with the rug on that particular one?
With the what?
The rug, the area rug?
The area rug I did not know. The
Okay.
designer did that, and she did a
Okay.
beautiful job. Like
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
she pulled in a lot of gorgeous detailing and did a fantastic job.
Yeah. It's all very beautiful. There, you're getting lots of comments about how beautiful it is in the comments, just so you know.
Oh, thank you. That's nice to hear.
All right. This is one of mine. So this has probably been a little over a year and a half ago. I went and met with this client. She had a beautiful new custom home, and knew she needed to do something with the windows. I think this was actually right after the time change, so it started to get dark earlier, and they were feeling like a fishbowl in their new home. So
Oh yeah.
privacy was definitely something we needed to address. But she also wanted it to be really pretty. So if you go to the next picture, originally we were drawing and playing around on my iPad, and we thought, well, we could do a Roman shade on the side window and maybe some panels, but you can see that fireplace it actually cuts into the molding on either side of those windows,
Yep.
which was challenging. So we thought about doing to each side, but she really wanted to maintain the light, and she's got two little kids. She kept really worrying about the kids. They're little ones, as you can see all their little trail of fun stuff around the house. Um,
And
so we were, we were just drawing in our design consultation just to give her some ideas. These are not beautiful and perfect, but it certainly gives her an idea. And where we ended was here. So we decided to do the faux Roman shades so that she could still have the softness. It was really important to her that they felt like they were real Roman shades that could go up and down, and that's the way we make them in our workroom. So there's a lot of folds there, and a lot of care and detail went into these.
Now
We didn't have to
I'm
worry
sorry,
about the fireplace. Yep.
this is a faux?
Yes. Yep. That's a faux Roman
Okay,
shade.
this
Yep.
this it's gorgeous. It's
Thank
absolutely
you.
beautiful. And yeah, because you've got the multiple folds, it does look like it should function. Now, do they have an issue with privacy now, or no, not really?
Well, underneath those faux Roman shades, nice that you asked, Debbie, is
Okay.
a motorized roller shade.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, so it's perfect with the kids and stuff. She doesn't have to worry about them touching the fabric, but it still gives us the softness. We didn't have to worry about the stack being too wide and covering up some of the window, and we didn't have to worry about the fireplace issue. So it ended up being just a perfect solution. We spent a lot of time picking out the perfect shade of gray in that inset banding on those faux Romans. And these are really big. You know, it's interesting. They opted to make the ceilings 10 foot on their main level. And when they did that, the builder didn't bring the windows up higher. He left the windows at the same spot. So there was so much room between the top of the windows and the ceiling. So we were able to bridge that gap a little bit. And so there's not as much room up at the top, and it feels a little more proportional. The
Yeah,
way that it probably should have been
yeah, it would have
originally.
looked silly if it was starting here
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
coming down. That would have just stunted the whole room
Yep.
after you pay additional to have 10-foot ceilings.
Exactly. Exactly. So we were able to solve that architectural problem with fabric, which was fun.
Very nice. And you've got it nice and tight against the wall also,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
which is
When you don't have to have a mechanism to make it go up and down, you can
oh,
bring it in nice and tight. So this is the same house, but this is the kitchen and the eat-in area. And I wanted to share this with you. If we go to the next,
oh,
oh, that's okay.
sorry.
So
There we
again, we were drawing, and we knew on the doors that we were just going to do the roller shades. And so if you go to the next picture, one of the things I wanted to point out, which is really why it's fun to work with someone like Debbie or I, is, you know, we went to the roller shades came in, and I looked at the valance that came with the roller shades, and I thought to myself, we
Ugh.
have these gorgeous faux Roman valances in this house, and we don't need to necessarily replicate that on the doors, because we weren't trying to make the doors be fancy, but it just felt like it needed something more than what came with the roller shades. So since I have a workroom and we had extra of that gray fabric we used for the inset banding, we went ahead and made just simple little valances that those roller shades could fit up underneath on the doors to the outside. And it
Which
was
is
just a
so perfect.
fun. It was easy, but again, it's one of those things that, like, not, you know, we could do that because we have the skills and the tools and stuff to do that. And it made a difference in the room. It really did.
I also like the way you raised up your valance here. A lot of people tend to put their valance right here, and by the time you've got a stack on it, it's
Yeah.
way too low, and everything's then all the same height. It looks silly. Whereas here you're
Yeah.
staggering, which makes it look more interesting. And then it doesn't look like this would have been off from that being lined up.
Yes, yes.
The
You know,
the other thing,
that's a good point you brought up, Debbie, too, because I always talk to, and it depends on the kitchen and the cabinets and the height of the ceilings and how it all goes. But, you know,
right?
a lot of times I'll have clients say to me, well, shouldn't it all be at the same height? And I think it's easier on the eye when it's either a little bit above the cabinets or below the cabinets, depending on
Right.
what you've got to work with.
Right. It's
Mm-hmm.
nice to have dimension. You need to
Mm-hmm.
have dimension with it. I love what you did here because yes, the roller shades can, you know, the valances that come with them sometimes can just be either overly large and obtrusive looking or nothing at all. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing that you have to be careful with when you're doing these doors is having a very small return so that you can open the door and it's not smacking into the wall. And
Right. That's
something that
good.
a lot of people don't really recognize or think about, that one of the
Mm-hmm.
big things that we're always addressing is making sure that whatever you put on these windows, you're able to still open your doors.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say too, roller shades are great on these kinds of doors because they're just slim. So they'll like that particular doorknob, that lever kind of doorknob, that roller shade just slides right behind it real easily. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
And it's practical.
And it gives a nice clean look as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so this house, this is at the shore, and are two houses away from the beach. And you can't tell in this picture, but they've got a little sliver of beach showing right in this area. This right now is a jack where they had their scaffolding, but you see a little bit of beach there. And so we went through different options, and this is a tough one to treat. They didn't want
Hmm.
shades or blinds or anything like that. They really wanted to bring in softness into this room. We
And
and
those windows angle up. Yes.
Yes,
Hmm.
yep. Is that what you're asking?
Yep, yep. That's definitely, it's always a challenge when they
It's
angle up
it's
like that.
it's
Yep.
always a challenge. And so and to bring softness in.
Hmm.
We ended up doing cornice boards that follow the ceiling line. And
Wow.
now I am going to say with this side panel, as the side panel gets pulled up, this is a much shorter point than over here. So as it gets pulled up, it kind of staggers almost like a jabot going up. You know,
Ah.
it kind of has a nice stagger to it.
Hmm.
We did two layers. We did a sheer and then a beautiful linen panel over that. I did this with one of the designers that I've worked with, Karen McLaughlin. And once this was in, they got so that they would open this all the way to one side, this all the way to the other, and then they have that nice open window. One of the challenges is you see how long this cornice board is.
Hmm.
Well, we couldn't get it in the house up the steps. We had to bring it
Ah.
in through the window, second story, coming up second story, and bringing the cornice board through the window to be able to get it up into this room.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's always challenges like that as we're looking and trying to figure out what we're going to do, we have to keep in mind, is it going to fit? Are we going to be able to get it up the steps? Is it
Yeah.
going to be in proportion? Is it going to miter correctly and follow the line correctly? So
Yeah, there
a
was a
lot
lot
of
of geometry you did there.
there was a lot of geometry, a lot of thought went into this one, but
Yeah.
it was a fun job to work on.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful and it softens that room so nicely.
Thank you. I don't know why this keeps jumping ahead on me. Okay,
All
that's
right. So this is a client of mine. It was a new construction home. As you can see, they had just moved in not too long before I went to visit them the first time. Um, I showed you this because with bay windows, we're always like measuring, measuring, measuring. And then on top of all of these measurements, there were angle measurements and all sorts of things we had to grab. When you look at this window, there's not a lot of room between the top of the molding on the window and the bottom of the molding coming from the ceiling. So it doesn't give us a lot of room to work with as far as attaching things. So you got to think about that. There's not a lot of room in those corners between the molding. So those were all things that were kind of running through my mind as I was meeting with this particular client. She wanted more than just window treatments. So take a look at her dining room chairs, because I think this is a great example of where we were able to sort of salvage some of what she had and make some small adjustments that had big impact. So if you want to go to the next picture. So here was her dining room. She knew she needed to add more to it. They were concerned because they get really strong afternoon light in those in that bay window. So she was concerned about UV rays and hurting her furniture and her beautiful new flooring.
okay.
Um,
Oh,
so yeah, go ahead. They're fine. You're fine.
okay.
So I'm showing the detail first. So we settled on cornice board in that bay window instead of drapery panels. And we went with these pretty sheer shades. And I wanted to show you this up close so you could really get an appreciation for those sheer shades. They are
Okay,
such
inside
a
mounted.
Yes, they are such a fun product to use. One of the things I love the most about them is I feel like they're so versatile. So when they're open like this, you get that light filtering, soft sheerness. But when they're closed, you get privacy and they close like a flat roller shade. So the other beautiful thing is if you really like having your windows all the way open sometimes, those go right on up like a roller shade really easy, and they're meant to be, and they can handle being opened and closed a lot, whereas like a blind wouldn't, you really aren't supposed to open them all the way and close them, you're supposed to twist them. So
Right. Well,
you can yep.
I'm sorry, blinds are heavy.
Yeah.
They're more utilitarian looking, which would
Yep.
not really be suitable in this dining room because it's
Yeah.
a beautiful dining room. You need softness in there.
Yep, yep. And
And
we really wanted to, she didn't want it to be too frou-frou, but she still wanted it to feel elegant and formal because it's her formal dining room. So we picked a fabric that was still fairly neutral so that if she switched out other things, it would still go, but that damask pattern has a formality to it. And if you
oh,
can't you can't quite see, but there is a little bit of metallic thread in that. So it's got a little sparkle and shine to it as well.
oh,
Um,
nice. Now, and
yeah,
did you do all the chairs too?
we did. We did. So
Beautiful.
these chairs had that table actually is a nice color. It's like a nice medium walnut brown. So the chairs and the table were in really good shape, but the tops looked a little dated. They were that burgundy and they were
Mm-hmm.
dark, and we wanted to lighten it up. So we picked a pretty um, Krypton fabric so that if you spill red wine or
Great.
pasta sauce on it, it cleans up real easy. We added the nail heads to the back, which proved to be a little bit of a challenge, but Tara and I overcame it. They were really thick with foam on the back of these chairs in sort of an odd way. And we ended up coming up with a methodology that worked, but it took a little extra ingenuity. But we put those nail heads on, and it really just changed the whole look. It felt like a brand new dining room set. We helped her pick out the carpet. She has touches of navy blue everywhere, and she was going to add some more navy to the room. So it brought it all together. And I'll tell you, the stairs, she was upstairs working when Tara and I were in there doing the install, and she came down those stairs and she didn't even get all the way down. And she stopped and she says, "You're going to have to give me a minute." Like, she was so happy and so pleased with the transformation. And
Oh,
I
and I
wanted
would
to
say
share this
those
because,
nail heads were worth it. They're
yes,
gorgeous.
right.
Yeah. What were
And,
you going to say?
well, this is just a good example. So often I talk about transformations with draperies because I feel like draperies always make such a huge impact. But here's a great example of not using draperies and still getting a really big impact from before to after.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, I worked with a client on this house, and you know, what do you do sometimes when you've got these beams and it just looked boxy. It didn't look soft. This was, we consider it the first floor, but technically it was the basement. And we were looking for different ways to work with this. And actually the designer came up with this idea, and then I just had to execute it, which was wonderful. And that was
Oh,
pulling
wow.
a soft fabric here, and then we pulled the fabric over here. And it was just a really simple way of transforming a really hard space into softness. And there were lights
Yeah.
up in here too. So
Oh,
when the
neat.
lights were on also, it just had a really pretty glowing look to it.
That's awesome. It's like so cozy now. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
didn't lose the beams in adding the fabric, but it just softened it. Love
right.
it.
Yep, yep.
The other thing, if you want to go back 1 minute,
Uh-huh.
I love that they're white. They're not fancy. There's not tons of print on these drapery panels, but again, they make such an impact to the room, and they're soft, and
Oh,
they're elegant, and I just
yeah,
love it.
just bringing in, I mean, look how
Hmm.
hard that
All
whole
those surfaces.
that whole area was. And
Yeah, that fireplace is huge
soft.
too. All that stone.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
So it was a big transformation.
yeah. All right. So this is a client of mine. I think there's a before picture.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why
That's
in the world
okay.
does it keep jumping
Okay.
on me?
So this is a before picture. This is they had I think I've done every room in their house, which has been fun. And in this particular room, it's like their formal living room. They weren't sure what to do with it. They still had little kids. So, random things ended up in there as they were working on and doing other rooms in their house. Um, and they had these old drapery panels from the previous owner. They were a little dated. You could see the rods are like fabric covered and stuff. Right. Yeah. It was very popular back in the 80s, not so popular now. Um, but that artwork right there on that wall, she brought that from her hometown in India, and it was an important piece that she wanted to really design around. You can also see like the light bulb hanging in the medallion on the ceiling. So there was there was a lot that we needed to do in this room. And it's a decent size. It's a pretty big room. So and it's the first room you see when you walk in our house. So we wanted to transform it into something pretty amazing. So if you want
So
to,
the one thing that you mentioned was that
uh-huh.
picture was an important factor to her.
Yes.
And a
Yep.
lot of times, you need a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it when we've got a picture or an area rug or a piece of furniture to start with.
Yep.
But sometimes there's clients that they've got furniture, but they want to change it, but they don't know what they want to change it to. And they really don't have a starting point. And at that point, a lot of times maybe we'll go neutral if they know in 2 years they're getting furniture. We'll go
Mm-hmm.
neutral to help them to be able
Yeah.
to select furniture, or talk to them about, see what their style is in their house. If there's other pictures that speak to them, colors, if it, I go to homes and they don't even know what color they want the room
Right.
to be. So, does blue speak to them and make them feel good? Or do they prefer green or red?
Yep. Yep. Those are all really good questions. And these windows, the old window treatments could not open and close.
Right.
So, which was okay. I mean, she wasn't looking for like serious privacy, but they do get some strong sun in there, and they are right on the street. So just having a little bit of filtering, was all that she was interested in. So we went with shears, because we added some heavier elements in this room. We actually upholstered that sofa in red. It was a sofa she had in another part of the house, and it was a different color.
Very nice.
And added the light fixture, which was a bigger, heavier piece. We tied it in with the chrome and the hardware for the window treatments. And then we went with a sheer. We just wanted something light and airy, and we really wanted it to sort of showcase the beautiful artwork that was on that wall. And you can see we switched out. I helped her with pick out the rug and a couple other things.
And
Um,
thank goodness you helped her with that rod also.
yeah, right. We got rid of the fabric covered rod. It was really hard to get rid of. I was like, "Do you want to keep these?" And she's like, "No, you can absolutely 100% throw those away."
Now, what type of
But
plate did you hear? Was that a two finger?
yes, a two-finger euro. So the top
Very
tap.
nice.
Yeah. And she wanted a little bit of movement in them. So you can see there's a little bit of a swirl pattern that kind of goes down from top to bottom. And we wanted them to touch the floor a little bit, because again, we were really looking for softness and
Yes.
elegance, and we didn't want it to feel um, too uptight or
Yeah.
structured.
You didn't
We
want it
were
to look
looking
too
for
much like a
softness.
hotel room.
Yes, yes,
But
yes,
this just kind of, that little slouch just gives just a little bit more warmth, because you've
yes.
got a lot of hard edges,
Mm-hmm.
well, cold edges actually.
Yep.
So
Yep. So we just did that to soften it up a little bit. And that's just another view. There was 3 windows in that room.
very nice. Oh, this is just a quick one, Sherry. I don't know if you're still on the line, but if you are, uh, raise your hand so everybody can see you.
Yeah, there she
this,
is.
this is her shore house, and we did this. Oh my gosh, Sherry, you should unmute yourself and tell us how long ago this was. This is like 15 years ago. Um, Look at what a transformation a,
Wow.
a cornice board brings in. And I'm going to tell you, the room has been repainted since then. She's done a bunch of other things, but I still love these cornice boards. It just brings in that that little bit of warmth that
Mhm.
otherwise you didn't have. So
Yeah, and I like that you have it on the bottom, the detailing, have it swoop up just a little bit on the bottom
mm-hmm,
instead
yep,
of just going flat across. Because again, you've got lots of lines, so that kind of swoop up was a nice break. I like
yeah,
that.
just add a little bit of warmth.
Yeah.
All right, and so now I want to get to, I've got one more room, and I know that we're getting close to the end, so I won't be too long on this. But let's see, where do I
Look at
start?
Debbie's awesome drawings. Like
Let
Debbie
me,
has the best drawings. I need to take art classes from her because you saw my silly little iPad drawings. Like she does the most gorgeous drawings.
thank you. Well, I need to start with this room. So 15 years ago, I was at this client's house with designer Linda Rubino, who I work with. And on the way to the kitchen and sunroom, which we did, we went past this great room. And I remember thinking 15 years ago, oh, I really want to do that room. This is the way it looked 15 years ago. And she called me this past year. After 15 years, she called and she said, Deb, I found your card and I need you to come and do my great room. She said, the sunroom you did is my most favorite room, and everybody has different people I can use, but I loved what you did.
Oh,
So she
isn't
also
that
said,
just the best? Just makes your day.
yes, oh yeah, it made me feel so good. And then she also said, and if you can get rid of these scrotum sacks hanging,
Oh my gosh. That is so funny.
you know, some of the conversations are are priceless that we have
And isn't it
sometimes.
funny how certain things just like as soon as the client sees it, that's all they can see. And
Yep.
when you're showing them fabric patterns, whatever, like once that's in their head, that's it.
I said to her, I said, I thought it looked like saggy boobs. She said, oh no, they've been scrotum sacks for years. Just get rid of them, please. So
Oh, how funny.
I started by doing some sketching, and she was really having a tough time envisioning. So she said, can you add a little bit of color to it? And I said, okay. And I mean, this was just, just roughly what I was doing. Right when I was there, she she knew that she wanted to keep red in this room. They had just gotten these area rugs, and they're black with gold, and they have a little bit of burgundy in them. The flooring has that, it's got that deep mahogany, that reddish undertone. And she really still wanted to keep red in this room. So right when I was there, I knew what I wanted to do. I mean, I could picture it. And so I pulled together the fabrics for her as to what I was recommending. And then actually what I did was I added the fabrics to this drawing to explain it a little bit more. And each window, it was 92 and 92. And then we had another set over here that was 92 and 92. They were 20-foot ceilings. So the fabric was, the panels were 19 feet long. These jabots were really super long. If you look, she does not have a lot of room here by the fireplace,
Oh, yeah.
but they really wanted this to be a wow. There's a
Hmm.
door here and a door here, not a lot of space. So I was very tight with my parameters as to what I could and couldn't do. Also, when you've got something 20 feet up, unless you're renting the scaffolding to do the measure, you're really having to be precise and know what you've got, even though there's treatments still hanging.
Right.
Oh, I didn't realize I put in two. Oh, the other thing I wanted to show you was the uh, sofa that she had was actually like a peach and cream. And
Ah.
I think everything was just so sun bleached from these windows, even though they had
Ah.
tinting. I don't know what it used to be, but we also had the furnishing that just was not working. It was like a damask, and you can't tell, but it really was fighting with the area rug.
Yeah.
So we got the scaffolding and all of our
I
wonderful.
love this view, Debbie. You can see before and after in the same picture.
Yep, yep. This obviously was the before. Here's the after. And so this was the first picture. My client was in Florida. She's still in Florida. This was installed about 3 or 4 months ago, and she hasn't even seen them yet, except for
Ah.
in pictures, because she's now stuck in Florida.
Ah.
Anyway, you see how we did come down next to the fireplace because her husband, they both said, we want this to be amazing, not halfway, and we want it to really be a wow. So here
Wow.
we've got, kind of a view of the room. And just last week, we delivered the velvet sofas that we
So
reupholstered
much. Oh, that's
and the
beautiful.
chairs that we reupholstered. And I said to her, went through all of this with her again on, FaceTime and everything. I said, the next step we have are the pillows, because we really need to, pull some wow down here. And the tables that she has are a little small. We need something a little chunkier.
Yeah, that
It's
room is
going,
just so big and
it
so tall.
yes.
Things get lost fast.
Yeah, and we need to up the game with our accessories and also our lighting. So, I
Hmm.
mean, here's a door. This shows you how big this room is. How
Yeah.
tall those ceilings are. That's a normal sized door. So, again, this has been a real pleasure to work in. Uh,
I really like the proportions you used too, Debbie. It was almost like the other window treatments were only considering the top windows, and you really figured out how to incorporate the whole length of the windows.
right.
Yeah.
And that's, well, to give you an idea, these ended up being, with the trim, about 36 inches deep. From
Wow. So
here
it's
to
almost
here,
three
about
feet.
36 inches, 3 feet. The ones in the other that they had done, they were about 20 inches, which
Wow.
is what you would do pretty much on a 8-foot window, not
Yeah.
on a 20-foot window. So this looks like it would if it was, if it was an 8-foot window with a 20-inch swag, that's what this would look like.
Yeah.
Um, but
Debbie,
yes,
how many hours did it take to do the install?
the install actually went fairly quickly.
Okay.
I'm going to say it was probably about 6 hours,
Yeah.
which really isn't bad because we had to take down the old,
Yeah, that's not bad at
reinstall the
all.
new. Now, I am going to tell you that we had everything attached before we
I'm
put
ready to
these up.
go.
So they were super heavy. The only things that were not
But that puts
attached
a, that
were
puts
the
a lot
side
of
panels.
pressure on you in the workroom ahead of time to really
Yes.
make sure you, because sometimes we can tweak things, we can fudge them. What do we like to say, Tara? We can judge things when we get there, right?
Mhm.
But in an install like this, you don't have that flexibility. So all that math you did on that paper paid off, right?
Right, right. And these side panels were lined and interlined so that you have that
Oh my
extra
gosh, how heavy.
opulence with them. But also because it's a silk-like fabric, I needed that weight so that it would hang straight and not flare or
Hmm.
bulk out too much on me.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're
but yeah, I
beautiful.
think in the other pictures, their helmets and jabos came to about here
Yeah, they did
and
not come down that
and
far. Yeah.
here. And I just wanted to make sure that I want to bring in some larger trees and things where everything connects, where it's not
Mm-hmm.
everything down here and then everything up here.
Right.
So,
Right.
but
It's one room, not two different floors.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and this right here, can you see that chandelier?
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
so
was in the
pretty.
foyer. Although
Okay.
you've got a huge ceiling here, you don't have any light
Lighting.
fixture or anything up here. So we are going to discuss that and see what we can do to get more lighting. Right now they've got these things here, but I want to see what we can do to get more lighting in there so that they can
Yeah.
utilize this and so that when this room is lit up, it really shines.
Yeah, that would be beautiful. Love those
So
ideas.
anyway,
So
so does
pretty.
anybody have any questions? That is, I mean, those are everything that we had pulled together.
I'm
And
gonna unmute everybody so you can ask questions if you have them, because we certainly don't want this to be just us talking at you. So, but it was fun for me to kind of go down memory lane and pull up some of those old projects and think through kind of that process, like goes from beginning to end.
me too. I mean, I enjoy like looking and remembering the angst,
Mhm.
the angst
Yeah.
that I went through with this. And I remember, you know, the night before, although I'm sure that my husband and my son who helped our installer, I'm sure they would say, "Oh, you were like a wreck." For me, I was more a wreck, like okay, the scaffolding. I need to make sure
Right.
things are laid down on the floor so that we don't, so that there's no marks on the floor. Uh, just making sure the whole team was together and knew what needed to be done so that we could get this beautiful look without having any issues.
Yeah. Tara, we never get like that, do we? No,
Never.
no. How many, like 20 times? Do we have this? Do we have this? Do we have this? Do we Make sure
So,
that works
Rebecca, what
perfectly.
are we doing next week?
All right, next week, one of my favorite topics, Roman shades. And there is a lot more to Roman shades than you would think. And there's a lot of different products we can do in Roman shades, different designs, different approaches. So we are going to dig into Roman shades next week, and it should be really fun.